auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now, on with the show.
I'm Darlene Vogel, and happiness is knowing yourself and being true to yourself.
All right, Darlene Vogel, thank you so much for doing this.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were born and raised in California, right?
Yes. No, absolutely not. No, what am I saying? Well, I was born in Modesto,
Okay.
and we moved when I was 9 months old to Wisconsin, where my family was originally from. So they had the youngest, my brother and I, in California, then moved back to Wisconsin, but I was raised in Connecticut.
Okay. And then you moved to LA once you got on the path to your career, right?
No, well, I started in New York.
Okay.
So after high school, I graduated and I took a year off to work and make some money and to go to New York, because back in those days, parents didn't pay for anything.
Right.
So we all had to work really hard. So yeah, I went to New York City and I started to go to school there at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. And then I dropped out because I ran out of money. And then a guy on the floor was like, "Why don't you try modeling? I know an agent." I was like, "Okay." So that's how I got into it.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I had 5. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's a big family.
Yeah. Yeah. 6 of us. Yeah.
It was a fun childhood growing up.
Yeah. Well, my brother next to me, the one that's 2 years older than me, we fought all the time, which was great because it gave me a good setup for all my fight scenes that I had to do. So I said, "Yeah, I'm used to fighting." So yeah, we didn't. Now we're best friends, but we didn't. I couldn't stand my brother growing up. Couldn't stand him.
That's always the way. And then later on, you find a bond and you come back together, I think,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
siblings.
Yeah. I hope
Did you-
that's the same for my kids, Jason. I hope it is. I do. Because they don't get along at all.
What's
Yeah.
the difference in age there?
5 years.
Okay.
But they were close when they were very little. And then my son was just so competitive with my daughter. It was so stupid. But I mean, he was so competitive and he just wanted all the attention. And then he created the monster in her. So then, she doesn't like him. So that'll all change hopefully one day too.
Oh, that'll change because as they get older, they're going to need each other and they're going to
I
bounce
hope
things
so.
off
That's what I
each
said. That's all you have when I'm
That's all
gone, and your dad's gone, that's all you have.
So you better like each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when you're in New York or Connecticut, did you always have that in your mind that you wanted to be in the business, or was that something
No, not at all. I mean, I was going to get into marketing with cosmetics and fragrances. And, but what was very funny is at a young age, every time I go like in the bathroom, I would take like a product, like a shampoo bottle, whatever. And I read the back and I'd like do commercials in the mirror.
Hmm.
I mean, it's so strange because it's like, I love doing commercials and I've done a ton of commercials. And it's funny when I do stuff like that with product, they're always like, "Darlene, you really know how to hold that product really well and keep it there." I go, "I've been practicing since I was 10 years old." So no, I never thought I would ever get into the business. I never did plays in school. I never did any of that.
Interesting, but you liked that connection of a product. You liked kind of trying to sell that product or kind of market
Yeah,
it.
I could sell anything. I could sell anything. Well, actually, I could sell things that I believe in.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But and I have to say, most products that I have sold or advertised, they were all good products. There wasn't anything that I go, "Oh, I don't like." I wouldn't do cigarettes.
Yeah.
When I was young, I wouldn't do that. I don't do. What other things wouldn't I do? Political stuff. I don't do political stuff. But yeah,
It's important to really believe in what you're selling because otherwise it's not authentic. So people see
even though
through
I
that.
could fake it pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
But for you inside, it has to be something that you really trust and believe in.
Yeah, like I would never sell a commercial for the beef industry or anything against animals. Yeah, there's certain things I go, no, I could never model fur coats. I couldn't do that when I was young. I go, no, I don't wear furs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, when you were modeling and then going out for roles, was that hard to put yourself out there, being vulnerable and being anxious about that? Was that tough? You go in, you're waiting for callbacks. Talk about that, I guess, like what that's like.
So it's always been a process. I've been doing this for about 37 years. And so I'm used to rejection all the time and getting closer and closer and closer to getting a job and them dangling the carrot and saying, oh, you're so perfect for this. This is yours, and blah, 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 blah. And then you don't get it. It
Mm-hmm.
happens all the time. And, you just get to the point where you go, I don't believe it until I'm on set. I don't believe it till the check's in the mail. Because you could be on set, you could work on a project and then get cut, or or it doesn't go, or you could do a pilot and it doesn't go. So there really isn't any guarantees. I mean, even when I did Pacific Blue, I didn't like buy a house or anything big until I knew the season was going to be picked up again. So that's when we all bought something like the second season. But it's really a tough business. It's even more tough now with AI and with all the streaming, and they're just making, like, the CEOs are making more money, but the actors making a lot less. And as far as print jobs, the same thing. Like, you're not making anywhere near that we used to 20 years ago. We used to make a lot more money. But now it's just, there's so many people in the business, they'll just take whatever. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take $500 for that gig. And you have big advertisers like Amazon and stuff like that paying you horrible money, horrible rates. And it's just hard to make. And now guest stars too, they're whittling down guest stars to like a 1-day guest star. So you only make $3,500 for that, which sounds like a lot for a day's work, but they can air it the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And now it goes to streaming, so you don't get the residuals that you used to get when it would run on network. So there's a lot of, and it's just the competition. But I don't take anything personally. So I don't know. Maybe I just learned that from being in this business. I have a pretty hard shell with that. But you just go like, it wasn't mine. It just wasn't mine. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't meant to be. And there's a reason why. And you see it down the road why you didn't get something. You go, oh, it's because of that, or it's because I was supposed to do this. And it always works out the way it's supposed to.
Do you think kids today are not as patient
No.
at, like we were in the day when I mean, it seems like everything's a fast food lifestyle now. They want it right now. They want to
Yeah,
hear
we were
about if
just
they've got
talking
the
about that
part.
yesterday. How the iPhone has made our generation dumber because they don't have to memorize anything. They don't have to look up, research anything. And now with AI, it helps them write things. It helps them just answer your question in 2 seconds. And they don't even know how to read a map. My daughter yesterday was paying for a meter. And she goes, well, I have some coins. This is one here with like a dove on it. And I go, my friend's daughter goes, I think that's a bald eagle. So yeah, that's a quarter.
Oh man.
My friend
Oh
was dying laughing. She was, because they don't use money.
yeah.
They use cards in their Apple Pay for everything. So it's like money doesn't even exist to them.
Yeah. It's scary. It's scary what's going to happen down the
Yeah.
road.
They don't know how to write a check. They
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I haven't written a check in a long time either, but they just, and then you just press a button for food. Food comes to you. Press a button for a car to come pick you up. I mean, it's just, they don't have to work hard for anything. And then you see all these influencers making all this money by just taking videos and pictures of themselves all the time, and they have no talent.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, well, I guess they were smart enough to get 1 million followers
Yeah.
and make money off of it. So there's, and then they have a platform.
Yep. I think it's, with them, it's probably consistency. Like every day they're putting something out there. So maybe it's not really quality. It's more of the quantity, I guess, of the posts.
It's a
So
very narcissistic society right
it
now.
really
And it's like,
is. Yeah.
even when I have to post stuff for my career, it's like, I just post it on Instagram, what I'm doing and the headshots, things like that, because it's constantly keeping my face out there, constantly trying to keep relevant.
Yep.
I have a friend that always gets modeling work because he just constantly posts on Instagram, constantly posts. I mean, they do ask you though, when you go on auditions, oh, what's your Instagram? So they definitely look at it. So you have to also be careful what you post. You don't want to post religious stuff, political stuff. You don't want to post too, uh, sexy or whatever the word is, is
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I mean, unless you're like 20 years old and that's what you do. But, you know, at my age, no one wants to see that.
Well, it's the posting is it's a necessary evil. I mean, I know with us trying to plan new projects, you always have to put yourself out there. But I hate it too. I mean, social media is it's just one more thing you have to do in my mind. It's just I just don't. Yeah, I don't like it. If we didn't have a business and a production company, I would be totally off of it, I think.
Right. Yeah. You get sucked into it and then you're just like scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. You just
Oh
get
yeah.
sucked into it. I mean,
Yep.
I love Instagram for recipes. I'm always
Oh
collecting
yeah.
recipes to cook. And I like it for decor. But as far as everything else, I'm like, and then everyone sends me animal videos. I mean,
Oh yeah.
every day, multiple people send me animal videos that I've probably already seen.
I think I've sent you a couple.
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah.
um, I knew you originally from, of course, Pacific Blue, and then Back to the Future too. Um, was your first feature role, Back to the
Yeah.
Future? Okay.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah. I came into town. I had done some TV. And then I walked into my agent's office and he's like, "Oh, Darlene, how young do you think you could play?" And I was like, "I don't know, 18. I don't know." I think I was 25 at the time. So he goes, "Oh, just go in on this audition." And I didn't even know what it was for. And I just walked in and just had a meet and greet with the casting director. And then, I had a lot of lies on my resume because I hadn't done much.
mm-hmm.
And I had Fool for Love, a play that I'd done in my acting class. And she's like, "Oh, who'd you do Fool for Love with?" And I just went blank. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't remember his name." And I could have picked anybody. I could have picked, like, I was friends with Grant Show. I was friends with all these actors that people know. I could have, but I just went blank. I go, "Oh my God, I'm just blanking. It was so long ago. I can't remember who it was." So, and then I didn't hear anything. And then, like, a month later, they called me back with Ricky and Jason, and we improv'd a whole scene. And then a month later, we found out we got it. And we were supposed to work for 2 weeks and we were on set for 2 months.
Wow. Was that because of some of the technical things that were
Yeah.
going on, new
Yeah.
technology
They
that?
were using that split camera. So that was the first
Mm,
time using that split vision cam, the Tundra camera or whatever, I guess it was called. And then the lighting was different. It was a lot of setup. So the cafe scene took a month and the hoverboard scene took a month, but we
mm,
weren't working all day. We sat around a lot, a
yeah.
lot.
Was that
Yeah.
set very fun, welcoming for your first feature? I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I was so spoiled because, and plus, catering was lobster and steak and, amazing food and it was just insane, the money. And then because I went from that to like ski school and I'm like where we had pasta for like every day. I was like, wait a minute. It's so funny, like when I went from Pacific Blue to a soap opera, I was like, wait a minute, I'm sharing a room and there's no water, there's no
Right.
craft service, no nothing. We have to
What
buy
is
our own
this?
food. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I feel like I've done everything in this business from music videos to showroom modeling to conventions. I've done everything in this business. I mean, I'm happy I did because you got to know everything that you liked and you didn't like.
Sure. Yeah. And it helps you as you go down to pick out what roles you maybe want to go for, what you feel like you
Yeah,
would be comfortable in.
yeah.
How was Zemeckis with you? Did he give you any direction on what he wanted Spike to be in Back to the Future, or how did that character come about, and how was he to work with?
Oh, he was amazing. He's the sweetest guy on the planet. I always just remember him always cocking his head like this. He's always just like, hmm, you
Golden
know,
Retriever. Look.
yeah. He was just the sweetest, just chill. He was so chill. And yeah, he didn't really even give us that much because we all knew that we had to be like these tough characters. So I
Yeah.
could play that easy. I love playing really tough characters. So that was easy. I mean, I just remember my line,
Yeah.
in the cafe when I say, "What's wrong, McFly? You got no scrot." And then I put my hand on his crotch to throw him up, over the counter. He's got a big ketchup bottle in there. And I was like, "Ooh." And then And then if the
Ugh.
joke was on me and everyone knew about it but me, but I didn't know what to do because it was my first feature. Do I stop? Do I say something? It was so funny. So I just went through the motions and then I was like, okay, you wish, Michael. Yeah. It was very funny.
So
Yeah.
you gotta have fun with it and move on. Gotta
Yeah.
move through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that tough to be? That's your line, and you got to nail it. Did you have anxiety over that? Speaking
Oh
for
yeah, I
Michael
did.
J.
I
Fox.
was
Yeah.
nervous because I
Yeah.
knew the lines coming up to the thing. I was like, and I was just like, and I could tell in my voice when I said it that it's like very whispery. It's like, what's wrong, McFly? I mean, now today I'd be like, what's wrong, McFly? I'd be more strong.
Yeah.
But I remember when I would get nervous, you kind of swallow your voice,
Yep.
and your voice is in here. And yeah, I definitely would have said it differently now than I did then. So,
But it's
but
something to look back
it
on.
was
You
my
kind of,
one line.
yeah, you kind of analyze how you would do it differently. That's good. It's growth. So that's good.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you on set? Not only was it a feature, but it was this iconic sci-fi franchise it was going to turn out to be. Did everyone have a sense of what it was eventually going to be? That it was going to be huge, or was it just a movie that we were
No, I
making? Yeah.
mean, I don't even remember seeing the first one. So I probably did, at the
Mhm.
time, but we just didn't know that this was good. Ricky was the one. Ricky's always good at all this stuff. My other gang member, he was like, "This is going to be huge, Darlene. This is going to be huge." I'm like, "Really?" I just had no idea. I was like, "Okay." I mean, I was so new in the business. I was so green.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I mean, I was like, "Okay, I'm on set. This is cool." You know,
Getting
you
paid
know.
to do what I
So
love. Yeah.
yeah. Hang out with everybody, the crew. I mean, I loved hanging out with all the crew. And it was funny because the crew only saw me as Spike. They never saw me as me
Hmm.
because I would get there, go straight to makeup. They do, the Spike, the whole thing. And then at the premiere, like I would come up to people, hey, and they'd be like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Spike. And they're like, oh my God. Like they just didn't recognize me. It was funny.
Yeah,
And then they
because you.
got the Spike wears a whole red contact I had to wear that, and they got that idea because my real eye is half brown and half blue.
Huh.
So they had said, oh, let's do something with that. So they put one eye a different color
Oh wow, that's
totally.
cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. I didn't recognize that. That's cool.
yeah,
And you also, which I don't know if a lot of people know, but you were on the little pregame video for the ride, right? For
yeah. The
Universal. Yeah.
ride, yeah. So
Yeah.
Joanna Johnston, the wardrobe woman, she had suggested me for that. So I was like, sure. I mean, it paid nothing. I was like, whatever, it'll be fun. And
Yeah.
so I walk in and I have all this dialogue and the teleprompter broke.
Oh, great.
And I was like, well, I'm a reporter, so I'll have the papers here and I'll just be like glancing down. And that's what I did. And, they didn't get it to work and we just did it in small little snippets. So it all worked out fine. But yeah, so that was great. And then I remember going to the premiere of that and Michael Jackson was there with Macaulay Culkin and a bunch
Oh,
of other kids.
wow.
Yeah, he was at the premiere and I took my neighbor Jeff with me. Now I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's go to the premiere. So that was pretty fun.
That's fun. I guess doing that ride was kind of new and advanced too. So you probably didn't know how all that was going to come together. I mean, that's kind of an
Right.
interesting, yeah.
I'm
That,
shocked that they took it away because the trilogy is still huge. I
oh
mean,
yeah.
it's crazy, the fans. And I just go, why would you take that ride away? I mean, it was such a great ride. I don't know why they did that. I mean, I know they had to make room for another one, but was it The Simpsons? I don't even know what's there.
I think you're right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was,
So I was like, why? Why would you do that? I mean, I wonder if they kind of regret that they did that.
I think they probably do. I think didn't they take Jaws out also? I think they removed the
Oh,
Jaws
did
ride.
they? Yeah.
Some of these iconic movies they need to
Yeah.
leave alone. I mean, people love those forever.
I was at
So
a Comic-Con thing back in, not Comic-Con, it was a horror con back in October or November or whatever. And the woman in the beginning of Jaws that gets pulled under, she
yeah.
was there.
Oh wow.
I was like, oh my God, it's you. I mean, she's got to be like 90 years old or something. But yeah, she was
Wow.
there signing. Yeah, she was the one that goes like this.
Yeah.
And then, for that movie, I mean, I didn't go swimming for the longest time after that movie.
Oh, I know. Terrifying movie. Yeah.
Terrifying back then.
It's a great summer watch. Like every summer, watch it
Yeah.
once. It's fun. I mean, you think about Back to the Future, and it was what, almost 35 years. So, I mean, to be still, fans are still excited about it. That's really incredible. I mean, the Comic Cons, the conventions, people are still out there.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I mean, until the 25th anniversary, I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Because I never did these signings. And I actually didn't even tell a lot of people I was in that movie because it
Hmm.
was so long ago. So
Yeah.
I never really mentioned it. Now, when I mention it, they're like, oh my God, So the 25th anniversary, we did a signing out where the train thing was somewhere out in California. I don't know where we were. But anyway, there were fans from all over the world.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized, I went, wow, this is still a thing.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. And then you meet all these fans, and now because of social media, they're all connected. And, I went to, I went to all these and people from all over the world, because I don't do that many. And they're like, I need your autograph to finish my poster. And I'm like, well, I got to go to these events. It was hard for me to travel though for years because my kids were young.
Yeah.
But now my daughter just started driving, so I'm free.
You're free.
I'm
Can do it.
free.
No more chauffeur.
No, I know.
Was it it's got to be fun though to see so many people get together over a movie like that, and just a franchise, and have a good time, and talking about happiness, see the happiness on their faces, and you're a part of that. So
I
it's got to be
know.
really cool.
Yeah, they just go, you really made my childhood, this movie and this and that. I'm like, wow. I
Wow.
mean, cool.
Yeah. What's
It's
the
great.
craziest? What's the craziest thing fans ask you or had you sign, or you remember any crazy stories?
Not really. No. I mean, no. They're all they just ask you a lot of questions around it. I'm surprised that a lot of them still think it was me that hit the pole in the crash scene.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I was on this Facebook page the other day, and they said, and the people, oh, wow, it's too bad that she crashed into the pole. I wonder how she's doing. I'm like, that wasn't me. That was my stunt person. And someone on the Facebook says, no, it says it's you. I go, no, I'm right here. It
I'm
wasn't
alive.
me. Yeah. So, yeah, it was very funny. Yeah. I'm surprised that they don't know that, but
Was that
yeah.
tough learning how to, because you had to be on it, I guess, in some scene, in the close-ups? Was it tough to be on those and maneuver? And that was new
The
technology too, right?
hoverboards?
Yeah, the hoverboards.
Oh no, they were fun. I mean, we were strapped up to wires. We had harnesses on. The only thing, it hurt my hips after a while because the belt and the harness and stuff. But no, it was fun. We couldn't wait to do the hoverboards. That was really fun. Yeah, flying around the town. And we had to go
Yeah.
to one, rehearsal, to do it. So it was great.
Well, you
Yeah.
jumping from that, I mean, like you mentioned before, you've had a really good, successful television career, many things, including like Full House, Pacific Blue. When going for television roles, is that hard as a mom and a wife, where you're trying to get out there and you're finding roles, trying to go out and get those, and then you're kind of away from the family a little bit? Talk about that. Is that rough?
Well, I didn't have kids till I was 40, started 40 and 45. So I had pretty much done my whole career before them. I mean, I'm still working, but not like I used to. I mean, there's no way. I don't know how people do it. I mean, I guess their kids are raised by nannies, but I mean, I
Yeah.
had dogs at the time, and I would bring them to work, and
Mm.
those were my big concern. And when I had those long 16-hour days, I don't know how people do it with family. I just
Yeah.
don't. Because especially as a mom, I can't be away from my kids for months at a time. And so I turned down a lot of stuff when I did have kids. There was one project I did called Beyond the Break, and it was on the Nickelodeon channel, and it was shooting in Hawaii for 3 weeks. And I said, well, you have to pay for my son, who was 2 at the time, to fly over there. And I go, because I'm making hardly any money, and
Mhm.
so I can't afford to leave my kid at home, because their dad, he worked too. So he had to, do everything. Um, so first they said no. And then 3 days later, the president of the network was pregnant. It was a woman. She was pregnant. And she goes, oh, yes, we're paying for her kid, and we're paying for childcare too.
Wow.
So
Nice.
I got lucky. I got very lucky. Yeah, so I got to bring him over and they hired a nanny for him while I worked and it was great.
Just have somebody that can
Yeah,
see
but
what you're going through. Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Share that experience.
Hmm.
Do you have a
Yeah, but there are
favorite?
a lot of things.
There's what? I'm sorry. What's that?
There's just a lot of reasons why I can't go. I mean, even now, like, love scene stuff. When I did
Yeah.
ski school and there's a love scene in there. I was 25 years old and there was no internet. There was no anything. You don't think anyone's going to see this movie 25 years later. And now it's embarrassing. It was embarrassing at the time, but they always put those in movies back then in the 80s for the Europeans.
Mhm.
And it's so embarrassing. I mean, no one knows that you have 20 people in the room and it's not what it is.
Right.
But I just go like, my kids know. And so they get embarrassed. And I just told my kids, I go, it's a double. It's not even me,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't ever do, like, my agent had called me for a role on Shameless and it was with William Macy, but it was basically a sex scene. I go, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I got kids now. I don't want them seeing that. I don't need to do that in my
Yeah.
career.
Yeah, it's a shame, and people don't know like what that's. It's like you said, 20 people in the room. It's very
It's very
technical. It's very
mechanical. It's
yeah,
not, yeah, it's not, yeah. You're not doing, a D-rated movie where or
right.
whatever that's, no,
It's
it's not like that at all. Yeah,
not
and you're
very
covered up.
romantic.
You have things, and there was a scene where I had to, like, pull something down so they could make it look like I had nothing on, but I did, and you're covered. It's just so uncomfortable. It's horrible.
Yeah,
I remember, like, saying to the guy that I was acting, like, "Oh my mom's gonna kill me."
but back then too, yeah, you don't know that it's going to end up on the internet or going to be clips and that's just you're just trying to work and you're trying to you know do as many projects as you can to get the next one. So it's just
Right.
it's a shame that people are put in that situation in order to work or to have to
Yeah.
work. It's just
Yeah.
but I guess
Especially
so is the
women.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
women.
women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite TV role that you did? From all.
Pacific Blue was my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love the character. I just love that show. I had so much fun on that show. I miss everybody. We were such a family. It was amazing. I loved that.
It was a
I
good
loved it.
run too, right? Several
It was.
seasons.
I mean, I
Yeah.
left in the fourth season. I only did half the season in the fourth season and 4 episodes, I think, in the fifth season because I was going back and forth at the East Coast because my ex fiance was a hockey player, so I had to go back and forth there. And then that ended, and then I went straight from Pacific Blue to One Life to Live, so I had to
Mm,
move to New York and do
okay.
that. Yeah,
Where was that? Where was Pacific Blue shot? Was that in?
right here
Okay.
in Santa Monica. Well, Santa Monica, Venice, and sometimes Seal Beach. We were Santa Monica bicycle cops. So it was great though
Yeah.
too, because all the cops would recognize me. So if I got pulled over, I'd be like, "Hey, I'm Chris Kelly at Pacific Blue. You want a picture?"
I'm on your team.
Yeah. And they all knew the show. And it's funny, was reintroduced to the guy that trained us on our bicycles. And he's now one of the heads in the department. So I was like, "Hey, Jerry Leva." He was the one that trained us on the bikes. And now he's still with the Santa Monica Police Force.
Wow. That had to be
Yeah.
such a fun role, especially I feel like it kind of empowered women a little bit. You were ex-Navy pilot, I
Ex-Navy
think.
Top Gun pilot. Yes,
Yeah, there
I
you
was.
go. And you got to be tough, sarcastic. You got to get in fights all the time. Was that
Oh, yeah.
fun to pull out that tougher side of your
Oh,
personality?
that's
Yeah.
me. I mean, that role was me. I mean, I love that. That's me all the way. It was easy. My mom, when she had first watched it, she goes, "Well, you're always going to be sarcastic and kind of mean." I go, "Yeah, that's how I'm going to be." I
That's me. This is my life.
loved it. Yeah.
How
Because I went
tired?
from that, like when I went to One Life to Live, I hated my character on One Life to Live. She was just so like she spoke in poems and she was just so soft. And I was like, ugh, I can't stand the character.
not the same feel. Yeah.
No, I like a strong woman, a tough woman. I love those. Like I would love to play like another cop or, I still think I'm like a cop on the inside. I'm always like chasing stuff. I'm like,
Well,
even my neighbors are like, Darlene, there's choppers overhead. What's happening? I go, I'll find out.
I'll find out. And you've got
I got
teenagers,
you
so
covered.
you have to be a cop with that.
Yeah.
So how tired were you at the end of the production day? Because you were running around, jumping on bikes, fighting. When was it pretty?
Yeah. There was one time I just remember always having to go up and down this one hill. I remember I dropped the bike. I go, that's it. Can you get a stunt double? I can't do it anymore. But no, I was 35 and I used to ride bikes anyway. I used to ride like 80 miles every weekend. So I was
Mm,
used to it.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you was stunt doubles on that show too, or did you do most
Yeah.
of the stunts there? Yeah.
Yeah, they were the ones that did like flying off cars and jumping off the pier, like all and a lot of the chase scenes. They had second unit doing all that stuff because otherwise the show would have taken so long to shoot,
Oh yeah.
And there were guys. I mean, it was a guy in a blonde wig with hairy legs that was playing me. So yeah, but I did my own fight scenes for sure. I love doing those. But yeah, we rode our bikes all the time. We just didn't do, like I said, going over cars and things like that.
Yeah. And do you think it was an innovative show for women to show kind of that women can be these tough cops? And it was kind of before the movements that happen now and recently in recent years. Did you think about that back then, or do you think about it now for women?
Um, I mean, the only thing about Pacific Blue is like they still had all the bikinis in the
Oh
background. So
yeah,
everyone's like, oh yeah, it's Baywatch on bikes, you know what I mean? But I said,
that's
well,
true.
no, it's not. I mean, it's, I mean, I love that Paula and I got to play these tough girls and, so I thought that was pretty good, that we got to play those roles. But yeah, it's always good to put that out there.
Would you do a relaunch if they ever brought that show
Oh
back?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Bill Nuss, the executive producer, has he talked about that. And I would be because at the end of Pacific Blue, I went off to become like a detective,
Mm.
and I would be now the role that he wrote for me was like I went rogue. Like I'm like I don't know, but I come back, and Paula would be the chief of police, and then you bring all the young ones. I mean, it could be redone totally. I mean, it's still big over in Europe. I mean, Norway
Really?
plays it every summer. Yeah, when I went over there, I mean, I had people running over to me for Pacific Blue.
Mm. That's a
Yeah,
good
I always
feeling.
knew my fans. Yeah, it was funny because no one recognizes me from Back to the Future because it was a different thing, but they always recognize me from Pacific Blue and One Life to Live.
Well, the Back to the Future, the characters were so made up and
Yeah,
those costumes and yeah.
yeah.
Were you during that time? Were you happy with all these roles and everything that you were doing? Were you content in your life, or did you feel like that? Okay, I'm gonna just keep pushing on this grind, or
In my 20s, it was a little more difficult because I was still pretty green and still, I mean, I started acting late, like at 25, 26.
mm,
So like I would always get the call from my parents, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm doing it.
mhm.
But it was few and far between. Plus, when you're going up for pilots and then you're not getting, but I was very fortunate that I was doing a lot of commercials and making a lot of money. Like I would have writers say to me, how does a struggling actress drive a brand new Jeep Cherokee? I go, because I'm not struggling. I'm doing
Mhm.
commercials and I'm doing print and I'm doing other things to I lived in a house that I rented and I always did pretty well. It wasn't in my early 20s where it was more of a struggle, but I love having the struggle. You have to have struggle because that's what defines you. I mean, like it just makes you stronger. And that's another thing about kids these days. If you don't have any struggle, you don't know how to go through life, and I just believe that the more solid, the more struggle you have and you get through it, the stronger you're going to be and you can handle anything in life and you'll be happier because you're not going, oh, I mean, of course, there's times when, like in my 30s, I loved my 30s because I went straight from Pacific Blue to One Life to Live. I was always making a lot of money. And I've been poor in this business and I've been rich in this business. I mean, I was never like a, Reese Witherspoon actress. I wasn't that high up. I was never that way, but I was content. I was always working. And so I was content with that. But I would love now in my life to be like a supporting actress on a show, not a lead actress because it's too much work right now. I want to live my
Mm.
life. I'm
Yeah.
61 and it's just, I want to enjoy my life. I want to travel and I've raised kids for the last 20 years and I am pretty content, but you always want more. I'm always like, what's next?
Hmm.
What is the next thing that's going to make me happy? Because this is all I know.
Yeah. But you're not afraid of hard work. You're not afraid of going out there and maybe potentially failing because that's, like you said, that's the experience of life and that makes us stronger.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I took my real estate test like a couple months ago and I failed. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll take it again.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
supposed to take it again this Wednesday and I'm supposed to be studying today, but I just don't because I know it's not my passion. I
Yeah.
know it's like I need to stay in my passion and even acting. I don't even know if acting is really my passion anymore. I mean, I love doing commercials and print. I'll always do that because it's fast and like with acting, I just did a movie that's really cute. It's a great little movie and I can't wait for that to come out. It's called Rhythm is a Dancer and it's a true story. I had a small role in it, but like one day I'm there for 13 hours just sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And those are the times when I go, you know
Hmm.
you just like, but then the last day I worked in every scene, so it's more fun
Yeah.
when you're working and instead of sitting around all day. But I do like to be working. I'm not a person to be sitting around all day for sure
Hmm. Yeah.
and
And
waiting.
and those days sometimes when you're just kind of hanging out waiting for your time, it's got to be grueling, just kind of sitting
It
around. So
is. I mean, you stand there and you talk to all the other actors and everyone
yeah.
tells the stories, so it's kind of fun. I was working with Tate Donovan and Amy Aquino and all these other people, and so it's nice to hear their stories and you know, but yeah, everyone's got the same story though. Everyone
Oh
has the
yeah.
struggle,
Yeah.
so but like I said, like the young ones these days, it's a lot harder. And that's why a lot of them who make their fame really early, like these young influencers, and then you see that they die at like 30 years old or
Yeah.
early, the overdoses or things like that, or they get depressed because they're not getting that they're not getting that they're not being noticed, again. And there's going to be a time when you just go down, and I
Yeah.
don't know how they're going to deal with that.
That's what the danger of social media, I think. And to your point about a 30-year-old or even younger making thousands of dollars on YouTube or what other platform. Yeah. It's one day it's going to start to go
Right.
down. And
Right.
what are they going to do? How are they going to handle it? The
Right.
suicide rate really scares me of all the people that are, I mean, I just feel like, I don't know. I don't want to say our generation was tougher, but in a way it was. I feel like kids today just, they don't want to have any dirt on them. They just want to get through life and have it all given to them because they feel like they deserve it. But
I
life doesn't
think
work that way.
I say each generation gets weaker and weaker and weaker because of technology. It
Hmm.
just, like the people back in the, early 1900s, look what they had to endure,
Oh
and
yeah.
then every year, the war and the depression, all those, what they have to endure. Then it gets easier and a little easier. Now it's so easy. The only thing that's hard is, the prices of everything and,
Oh
making the
yeah.
money and trying to buy a home and stuff like that. Everything's just so expensive, and you just go like, how are they going to do it?
Yeah.
If jobs don't get better, but I don't know. It's a cycle. It's all a cycle.
Yeah. I feel like we're at a point where we really need the pendulum to come back. I feel like we've gone so far over one way that, gosh, how much further can
Yeah,
we go? I say that, but then
right.
something else crazy will happen. But
I
it's,
know.
well,
And
talking
COVID
about,
just sent
oh,
everybody like
COVID.
up to
Yeah.
bend. Yeah.
COVID was like a benchmark of like everything started to go down off the cliff a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
What going back to being happy and content and trying to follow your path, how did you handle and how do you handle today times when things don't go your way, or how do you stay focused and grounded when bad days come up?
Um, I don't really have that many bad days. I go on so many the last few months I've had so many auditions and I was like, how am I not getting this stuff? I mean, I used to book 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 5, but now that we've gone on self tape, it's so much harder to be seen,
Mm,
because when you go into a room, at least the person can see you and get your personality and get who you are. And like the movie I did, I went in person for the callback. And so they got to see me and meet me. It's just so much. Even my agent said his clients, a lot of them are hardly booking because of self tape. But
hmm.
I don't know. I just try to keep myself busy. I work out, I play my pickleball, I have lunch with friends. I mean, I just always try to keep busy. And I don't hype myself up with these jobs. Like, I know someone that really hypes himself up when he's up for a job. Like, like making plans before you even get the job. And I don't do that because I've learned through life you can't plan anything until it actually happens. So don't psych yourself up. So you could be positive about it. Like there's so many jobs where I go, oh, I'm going to get this. I am going to get this. And you don't.
Hmm.
And there's jobs where I go, why did I even come to this? I am not getting this job. And you do.
Hmm.
So you just like Full House. I remember going, why am I going on this? I don't look like Bob Saget. I look like Dave Coulier, you know? And so I go on the audition and he was like, Darlene, that was a really good audition. I'm like, yeah, right. And he goes, no, really, it was a really good audition. I go, okay, yeah, thanks. Bye. And I walk out because I'm like, I'm not going to get it anyway. Who cares if I'm Meryl Streep? But, but you just, I try to stay positive. I have a happy disposition and I'm lucky with that way, I always know
Mhm.
that something always happens. Like my friends always say that, Darlene, you're so lucky. It's like something always happens that gets you a gig or gets money or just something. And I go, yeah, someone's looking out for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone is.
And that's a good
So
philosophy to have on good things and bad things. Don't sweat the bad things that much either because
it makes you
they're going to
stronger.
pass. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have bad things in your life. You have to fail. Failure is a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it teaches you to be strong and teaches you to move on. I mean, if you're always getting handed things, like a lot of like trust fund kids do, they're always getting handed things. They don't know how to, navigate life.
Right. I mean,
They just don't.
pitching ideas and projects, I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I'm thankful for the no because it just means that wasn't right. I kind of flip
Right.
it and look at it a different way. Um, yeah. So you have in this business, especially, I think you have to have a tough skin and know that good or bad, it's not going to last long. You're going to have to go out there and fight for the next one.
Right. You just move on. Next, next, next. I mean,
What
it's
would
like
you?
I was going to
Oh,
say
go
my
ahead.
first national commercial was the Milk Does a Body Good campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And I had auditioned for a Lipton iced tea commercial. And they, this is another thing. Don't lie when they ask you if you can do something, because if you can't, you're gonna get caught. They said, can you do the hurdles? I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I did the hurdles in middle school, but not in high school, or, I was 20 something years old. So I was like, yeah, sure. Oh my gosh. Me and this one girl get called back and she's flying over those hurdles.
Oh,
And I'm just like jumping. I mean, I was like, I can't do these things. I did not get it. But thank God I didn't get it
yeah.
because I got the milk commercial. Because it would have been a conflict because it's a drink. Iced tea is a drink and milk is a beverage. So you can't do a commercial if you already have a conflict of a beverage.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why I go, it was meant to be that I can't do the hurdles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I got the milk commercial, which was like an iconic commercial. So
Oh man, yeah.
yeah.
Did you do multiple versions of that campaign or did
No, just the one where the
yeah.
girls grow up and tell off the kid at the end. It won a Clio award. It was like everyone goes, "Oh my God, I remember that commercial."
I remember that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah. And I made a lot of money on that commercial. It was great.
That's great. It's some of
Yeah.
the things I think that you don't think you're going to pay that well. It sort of surprises you, and then other things that
Yeah.
seem bigger, you don't make that much on jobs. So
I
it's
know.
always a funny
I did a print
dynamic.
job for Chevron. I remember it was on my birthday, and all I had to do was stand there with a hard hat on and like this construction outfit on in Malibu. And I just stood there and just smile, like a very soft smile. And that was it. I keep getting paid over and over and over with that job. Like every few
Wow.
years, it renegotiates. I go, this is odd. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess that means that's still running somewhere, right? Like it's still being
somewhere.
printed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what have you told your kids about jumping in? Maybe not in this business, but any business at all. Do you to tell them, kind of warn them for the ups and downs? Do they realize what it's going to be like in career searches and down that path?
Well, I mean, my son's in accounting, so I mean, he's still in college, and I'm constantly sending him Instagram videos of career and when you interview and all this stuff. And then he goes, what did you send me today? And he doesn't always look at them, but I'm constantly trying to teach him something because even though they're not going to listen to you, they're going to have their own path. But they'll neither of my kids will get into my career. Even though my daughter gets approached a lot for modeling,
Hmm.
I just go like, no, you don't want to do that. You
Yeah,
just
you've
don't.
seen too
And
much.
she
Yeah.
doesn't. She doesn't really have the personality, outgoing personality for it. But I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, it's hard even with kids that do want to do acting and I talk to them, it's really hard. I don't know what to tell them these days because it's just a
Yeah.
different world than how I started.
Yeah.
And but I'm always trying to teach them stuff, but they don't really listen at this age. My
No, they
daughter's
don't.
16. Everything I say is annoying. So
Oh yeah. Well, I hate to tell you, even into the 20s too, they don't listen. Our son's the same way. It's just try to tell things and advice, and it's just, oh, I don't want to hear anymore. It's just, what do you know? you know. But hopefully that'll change. I have hope.
when it changes too, when they have kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when I had a kid, I called my mom and I was like, how and why did you do this 6 times? I mean, she was a slave her entire life. I
Yeah.
mean, I just like go, oh my gosh, it's so much work. It's so much work.
Yeah. I mean, having boys and girls, and you know that from having a son and a daughter, they're totally different in how.
Totally different. Totally different. Yeah.
Wow. Do you
Yeah.
think, as far as happiness goes, do you think our career should be a big part of our happiness, or is that just one element? Do you think we put too much pressure on ourselves to keep up with the Joneses? Who's doing better? Why can't I get that role?
Well, I mean, as far as keeping up the Joneses, that is a West Side, meaning West Side here in LA. That is everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses, out here. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's crazy. And
Hmm.
my daughter is in that whole group too. So it's very difficult for me. But um wait, what was the question? Now I forgot.
Oh no, is it? Do you think career, we put too much focus on? Okay, if I do well in my career, I'm going to be happy.
Right. Well, this is the thing. I mean, like I tell my daughter, you have to have your own career. Having your own money will make you happy, but you have to do something that you love, right? Are you going to make money being an artist? Probably not. Or a musician? Maybe not. Who knows? But you want to have something stable that will make you money because money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure helps because
Hmm.
I've done poor and I've done medium and I've done a lot of money and I'm a better person with a lot of money. And it's not even that kind of wealth that you see, like I say with the big A celebrities. It's not even that. I mean, I've always been, I'd say, middle class, but been able to afford things. But it really helps because it's hard to struggle in this world. It really is. And that's what can really weigh somebody down because especially when you're surrounded by other people that are doing so well and they're flying to, Europe and here and there and you're like,
Hmm.
and you kind of feel like, well, what else can I do? And your kids put something on you too. Well, why don't you get a job? So I can make $20 an hour doing what? What am I going to do? I
Yeah.
mean, this is what I do. I always remind my kids because I have a job that pays me in residuals and sometimes I work, sometimes I don't. I said, what I do has bought this house and everything in it and everything you need and your education and your health care and everything. So you have to remember that. I mean,
Hmm.
I've just been lucky, but you do want to be happy at what you do. And And 99% of my career, I've always been happy with my work. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What can you remember a time in your life where things did get dark and you kind of lost your way a little bit, and then how did you make your way back?
I would have to say when I had both my kids, it was really hard because the financial burden is mainly on me, not on their
Mm.
dad. And he didn't work in 2008. I had two kids and I was like stealing from Peter to pay Paul, trying to make it work. And and it worked.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, it's just things just always help. Things always come up and save you.
It seems like you just have to ride the storm, because on the other
Yeah.
side, it's always a brighter day if you can just ride it out, because
Yeah.
we jump to conclusions and make poor decisions when we're nervous or scared. And I think if we can just stay the course, sometimes that it always somehow works out.
I had someone say to me once a long time ago when I kids were little, and he's like, "Hey, Dar, how you doing?" I go, "Good." He go, "Are you working?" No. Any work coming up? No. And he laughed. He goes, "Are you stressed?" I go, "No." I said, "What's stress going to do but give you cancer?"
Yeah.
You know, I don't stress. That's one. I'm not anxiety. I don't have anxious. My kids don't have anxiousness. Like I never put that on. Like my friends they're anxious and their kids are anxious. And if you're anxious, your dog's going to be anxious. I mean, it's like you put that on the thing you're taking care of.
Hmm.
And you have to just be careful with that. It's like that old thing. You can't sweat the small stuff. There's nothing you could do about it.
Yep.
You just have to, yeah, don't stress. It's the killer. It's definitely the killer.
Because there are going to be better days. I mean, good or bad, nothing stays the same for long. So we just
Right.
have to get through it.
Yeah.
So I
I
guess
mean,
it's,
these kids too, like a lot of kids think that their whole life is when they're 20. That's how their
yeah,
life is going to be. Your life changes like every 5 years. When I was 20 to 25 to 30 to 35, it changes drastically. And you like different things and your dislikes and your likes change. I mean, they think that they are who they are at 20. I'm like,
yeah,
no,
yeah. And
no.
everything, good or bad, that's how it's going to be, whether they're
Yeah.
struggling with trying to find a job, or they've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It's like, oh, my life is great or my life is horrible. And they think it's going to be that way forever.
Right. I always say when one train leaves a station, another one pulls back in.
That's right. It's inevitable. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So it sounds
Yeah.
like you didn't have to really work too hard about trying to keep your family positive, because you were positive. You were the force they saw. And even though things may not be, it's kind of like the captain of a ship. You can't let the crew see that person sweating. So it sounds like you did a really good
Well,
job
I
of
mean,
it.
no, I did. I let them see the times when I was like, I can't do this. I mean, it's only me and I don't
Yeah.
have help. And no, I am very real with that because I know there's a lot of people that won't let their kid see a struggle or say to them, no, you can't spend that because I'm not working right now. And I'm like, I want my kids to know, no, this is reality, dude. I
It's
mean,
life.
I
Yeah.
can't, if I can't afford this, you can't spend that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just reality. It's not even about pride. I already have my pride. I gave them a beautiful home to live in and they have a great life. So whatever happens, happens. I said, I'm a woman and women get retired out of Hollywood very early,
Mm,
so especially if you're not on the A list,
mm.
and now you see, then there was that whole change with celebrities doing commercials. Like, look at the Super Bowl.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single commercial was a celebrity, every single one.
Yep. Well, I know in the unscripted
It's just,
world, there's more celebrities coming on to do shows, and that's not going to last because the payday is not big and unscripted. So, but it's a whole dynamic
unscripted's
that's going.
going way downhill too. I mean, that's
It
suffering
is
too. Even that business is, yeah.
big time. The business seems to be getting smaller because you've got all these mergers and
Right. It's all about the mergers, right?
yeah,
But there's so many platforms. Like I turn on my TV and I'm like, there's Roku, there's Freeform, there's Black TV, there's
yeah,
this TV, there's this. And you go, there's so many TV shows and so many platforms. You go, how is not everybody working? Everybody should
yeah.
be working.
I've had similar
There's
thoughts,
shows
and
for Hulu and Apple and this and that. And you just go, I don't get it. Why there should be more work than ever.
Absolutely. That's why we're doing this podcast, because I feel like we need to diversify and try to pivot a little bit just for another, hopefully, revenue stream if we can get it out there and get a, a following. Because I feel like
Right.
in our business, you have to do that. You can't stay one track. You have to pivot. You have to be able to adjust as the
Right.
winds change. So
Exactly.
did,
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. That's
Oh,
all right.
so I know also that you're a huge animal lover. We've talked
Yeah.
about that some, and you do a lot of advocacy for that. Talk about that a little bit. What do you do? Mostly animal rescue, or
I
what's your
used
path
to,
been?
well, I do follow a lot of animal rescue groups and I was working with a couple of them, but I'm just a huge advocate of rescuing animals, not buying. I can't stand it when people buy their animals because I just
Uh,
go, there's so many out there that need a home. It's just, you go to the shelter, I mean, rescue groups are hard to get a dog from because you fill out this 10-page application and then the animal could be gone already. So
yeah.
my dogs have always come from the shelter or someone finds it or something. And people are always stuck with, well, I want this breed. Well, there's a rescue for that breed too. And yeah, I love animal. I mean, I just love them. I have a stray cat that I'm feeding. I rescued a cat during COVID from a guy that went to rehab. I mean,
Mm.
I should really be on a big property with a ton of animals, but
Yeah. Bring them to Darlene's house if you got a.
yeah, yeah, they all know. There was another cat that showed up on my porch this morning drinking out of my fountain. I'm like, oh, come on, why not?
Yeah, you need to buy a huge farm and just have everybody
Yeah,
come out. That's
yeah,
well. That's. I
yeah.
mean, I'm biased too. With our dogs are rescues, but I just feel like that they're better dogs. It's just my opinion. You have a better loving animal. It's just, and it gives you such a good feeling that you've helped them and saved their life. So
Well, because people
yeah.
have no idea where they're getting their dogs from,
Mm-mm.
especially like the French bulldogs and the doodles. I mean, the doodles are so bred. I mean, like with these poor poodles that are being used over and over and over and over and over, and then they get dumped. The moms get
Mm.
dumped, and then the French bulldogs. They have these backyard breeders that then the French bulldogs die because they can only be birthed through C-section, and it's such a business, and the wrong
Oh yeah.
people are making money from this business, and a lot of puppies are suffering. A lot of dogs are suffering. I see it every day in all the posts. It's very disheartening. It's
There's
all
so
around the
many.
world too.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many animals to be saved and rescued. I mean, why would you go out and spend money on a dog? I mean, there's just so many that need a home.
Yeah, and I was at the vet the other day, and this woman was there with her dog who was, needed to be spayed. She goes, "Yeah, well, I was thinking of maybe." I go, "Don't even say it. Get your dog fixed
Yeah.
and go to the shelter and see how many are being euthanized today. We don't
Yeah.
need any more dogs." And she goes, "Because people just don't think. They don't think about it. It's weird." I
Yeah.
go, "How do you not know the situation we're in? How do you not
Right.
know that?"
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to be responsible for sure. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's like you said, so many in a day. I mean, every day they're getting put
yeah,
down, and it's heartbreaking.
yeah. And I have no problem telling people not to breed. I have no problem
Yeah.
telling people not to buy.
Yeah.
I open my mouth big. I don't care. I'm a Karen with that kind of things. I don't care.
Well, that's good. It's a good thing. Well, it sounds like, I mean, you love animals, your family, you've got pickleball, and do you still play golf? Do you
No, I mean,
no?
I went to Top Golf a couple weeks ago to hit the
Okay.
ball, but I am terrible. My 7 club is hitting the same distance as my driver, so something's wrong right here. So, I mean,
Uh,
back in the day when I was with the athlete, athletes on their season off, that's all they do is play golf. So you have to play
mm,
golf. So I was playing every day. And but yeah. And then, when you have kids and you're a single mom, you don't have time to spend 4 hours on a golf course. So when
no,
they're
it's a
both
long
in
game.
school, you're cleaning and doing laundry and cooking and shopping. And, I've never had a babysitter for my kids. I've never had a
Wow.
nanny, babysitter, nothing. So
Well, good
I've
for you. I mean,
always,
yeah, that's awesome, and that's certainly, I'm sure, not the norm in Hollywood,
no, yeah.
but it gives you a
I would
chance
always,
to
yeah.
you get closer to your kids. I mean, you can't always have somebody else raise your kids. I mean, that just gives you an opportunity to know what's going on in their life, and it shows them something. They learn from that as well.
Yeah, you would think think so. But like my
Not
daughter,
so
like
much.
my daughter doesn't tell me anything. I mean, she's always in her room, the whole thing. And I'm thinking, it was just 3 years ago you were sleeping in my room. I mean, she was
Yeah.
sleeping in my room. And I mean, we were so close and everything. And it's just, but it's their way of getting their independence. I understand that, the pushing away thing. But like, then I look at kids that were raised by, like, they had nannies to help because both parents are working. I feel like they have a great relationship with their kids because they weren't with them all the time. So
Right.
when they are, it's a catch up thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
It's kind of like the grandparents. The grandparents can give them back, but they're at the
yeah,
house
yeah,
for the
yeah,
weekend.
yeah. So I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I was with my kids every single day, and I just go like, you would think that they'd just be like, I mean, they do. My son tells me everything, but yeah, my daughter isn't at that stage right now.
Were
And
you?
now that she's driving, she's got a car. Oh my God. Her
Oh,
dad was like, "You're never going to see her." I go, "I never see her now. She's always in her room."
yeah. Now it's though she's going to be out of the house. Bye, mom. I'll be back later.
Yeah, I know. But now I know if I go on vacation, she not only can take care of the dogs, she can drive.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Were you a single mom from like early on in their life or
Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah, when I turned 40, I was like, "Oh, I want to have a kid." And then I saw their dad. I was like, "Hey." I was like, "I'm turning 40 this year. Do you want to have a kid?" And we were together for like a couple of months or whatever. We weren't like, we weren't that compatible, but we're actually
Yeah.
really good. We all have holidays together. I'm very
Huh.
close with his family. I'm very close with his mom. And yeah, we tried the living together thing. It didn't work out. But and then yeah, then we had a second one. I was like, oh well, Owen wants a sibling. So, at least you're the same dad.
We can get it
So
done in a few years. We'll be good. Like between five
yeah,
year and between.
yeah,
Do you think
yeah.
you'll ever get remarried or get married?
God, no, no. I'm
No.
not really the marrying type. No. I've been engaged a few times and I've then ran away. So
Yeah.
I just like my space and I like to live alone. I mean, I have a boyfriend now, but I said to my guy, I will never live with you and I will never, get married.
Hmm.
And he's like, all right.
Well, you know that about yourself, so that's good.
Yeah.
And some people don't know, and
Yeah.
then they get in trouble. They get married, and it doesn't turn out
Yeah.
so
No,
well. But
no, I don't need to do that. I think, maybe, yeah, not even a maybe. I like living where I live and having and saying, bye, I'm going home, being with my animals and my space. And
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it sounds like you've got a lot going on. You're a very happy person. You're a very tough person. It sounds like that kind of is your happiness that kind of grounds you. I think. I mean, you're not afraid to work. You're not afraid to get out there and just keep busy. So do you feel like that's kind of what has led to your happiness and being able to be positive, that you're constantly on the go?
Maybe I think also I'm a very social person too. I just love talking to people and getting to know people and their stories and
Yep.
helping people. Like I get a phone call or a text every day. Hey, Dar, do you have this person? Do you know about this? I mean, I was joking. I was going to do an app called Ask Dar because I can hook you up with, I'm like a contractor, and I get to hook you up with this person and that person, and I'm a connector.
Yeah.
So I love doing that. That is one of my things I love doing. But I don't know. I think I've always had that personality. I remember when I did a Crystal Light commercial and I was auditioning against this other girl who did everything perfectly. And I said to the director, I go, how come I got it and not her? I mean, she did the turn in the pool, everything perfect. He goes, because your energy, you have a
Hmm.
bright energy. I go, oh, okay, cool. Thanks. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's from my upbringing. I don't know why. I don't. I
Energy
mean,
is important. We tell our son all the time that if you go in for an interview, you need to act like you want to be there and that you're wanting this job and don't look like you're half asleep. And so energy is key, I think, when you're trying to
oh, absolutely.
prove yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I
Awesome.
enjoy, like I said, honestly, I do enjoy like when I go to these fan things. I love meeting the fans. It gives me energy as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, after all this time, and those movies are going to be iconic forever. So, I mean, to have fans still interested in that and wanting to come out and meet you guys is got to be a super good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. You just go, wow. I mean, if it wasn't for the fans,
Yeah.
no one would have a career.
Right.
You know, I used to say that to the hockey player I was with. I mean, he didn't like to sign autographs for these little kids. He goes, "No, once you sign one, you guys sign them all." And I go, "But I mean, it's the fans that make everybody.
Yeah.
You know, an athlete, a music. I mean, everybody. I mean, if you're not liked, then you're not going to have a career."
Yeah. So true. I mean, they're coming to the games, like the hockey game. They're buying
Yeah,
tickets. They're going to the
yeah. You got to give
movie.
back.
Or
I mean,
yeah,
you know, you got to give back.
because we're all human beings, no matter what we do for a living. I mean, we're all, that's our common denominator. We're all people that have
Yeah,
feelings. So,
yeah.
well,
And I'm honestly happy for people like fellow actor friends. Like I will tell them there's a role here, there's a role there. And if, you know, I'm honestly happy when a friend of mine gets a gig. I'm not
yeah,
like, oh, but what about me? You know, a
right.
lot of actors are like that. When they hear that you're working, what did you get? Oh, how come I didn't go for that? Well, what about me? And
Yeah,
I'm like, it's not always about you. You know,
right.
you have to be happy for other people.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like was, I'm sure they're probably thinking, is there a role in it for me? Can you talk to so and so and see if something in it for
Yeah,
me?
I'm not even that person. Even when Paula called me for Pacific Blue, she goes, Dar, I just got this role and they're looking for a tough blonde. And I go, yeah, I'm sure if, you know, if I'm right for it, my agent will call me. I'm just not that pushy, which
Yeah.
is also to my detriment, I think. I think I should be a little pushier, but I always just feel like the chips will fall where they may. But I ended up calling my agent. He's like, "Oh, Darlene, they're looking for this tough this that." I go, "Well, that's me." And he goes, "Okay, I don't want you." He didn't really want me to do it because it was cable, and I was doing a lot of network pilots at the time,
Hmm.
and cable was not the way to go back then. But I was like, "I'm done. I'm so tired of auditioning. I want to be on. It's 13 on the air. I want to make some money."
Yeah.
And then come to find out, the executive producer, I was who he was looking for. He knew me, but he thought I was working on this other pilot, which I did, but it didn't go anywhere. And Rick Rossovich was also in that pilot. And that's how I got Rick Rossovich on Pacific Blue.
Hmm.
I told the producer, I go, well, Rick Rossovich isn't working right now. So hire him as the chief. And he's like, oh, next thing I knew, Rick was on the set.
Wow. That's good energy. And it's good energy to be happy for other people because it's
Yes.
only going to come back to you tenfold, I believe.
Always. Yeah.
Do you have anything, you see your kids growing up and you look back on your early days of your career and jumping in and taking chances? What's your advice or your hope for your kids as they move through life?
I hope they don't struggle in the way of just like, because I see, you know, some kids are just always living, you know, still living at home when they're later in life, and I just want them to be happy. I want them to have a partner that's happy and makes them better, and yeah, I mean, they're pretty happy kids now, so that's a good thing. I don't have to worry about that stuff, and I don't
Mm,
have to worry about drugs or because I have them scared to death with anything. I mean, my daughter went to the 8th grade dance. I go, don't eat anything, don't drink anything, don't touch anything. Anything could be laced. I mean, I have her like so scared of everything and of drugs, and they don't even know how to take a pill. I mean, so
mm-hmm.
um but I just hope they're happy in their careers. I hope they have longevity. I mean, everyone wants their kids to be happy, of course, but you know, but when I see my other friends that their kids are grown and now getting married, and I want us to always be close. Like I hope that they want to come home and hang out with me and even when they have their own lives and then we can go on vacations together and do that kind of stuff. That's what I hope for. Yeah.
That's
Because
beautiful.
right now my son doesn't want to go on vacation with me. And my daughter goes with other people. She's like, well, I have to bring a friend. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
If I'm going to go with you, I have to bring a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Darlene, thank you so much for doing this. I can't thank you enough. It's been really fun. I've
Oh,
loved
thanks,
having a
Jason.
chat
Thanks
with
for
you.
having me. Thank you.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by Makash Films. Music by Soundstripe. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe. From the entire Happiness Sold Separately team, thank you for listening.